Now, there is no doubt about it that over the years, we do know that Kathleen Kennedy was a force of destruction when it came to the sequel trilogy movies, and especially with Solo: A Star Wars Story when it came to its box office results, and how she handled the firing of the original directors to, of course, eventually hiring Ron Howard. This is Mike Zero. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel for future Star Wars content. Now, everything related to what happened with the sequels and Solo, it really does make one imagine exactly what the scenarios would have been like if Kathleen Kennedy was not in charge and if there was a universe at the time where Kathleen Kennedy was not leading Star Wars. So here we are, we're at the very end of January, approaching February of this year. It's going to be a big deal because we're going to be seeing the Bad Batch TV series arriving in the next couple of months, as well as the Book of Boba dropping this December, before, of course, we get the Mandalorian Season 3 in 2022. So things are moving along quite smoothly between George, John, and Dave, and exactly what they're trying to do with the overall franchise and more. Now, the one show that a lot of fans are very skeptical about is Star Wars: The Acolyte. This is the show that's being supervised by Kathleen Kennedy and being written by Leslye Headland and everything in between, with directors and co-writers being involved as well. Now, with that being said, of course, a lot of problems have been emerging behind the scenes with the Acolyte series. We do know that it's a very problematic show because of many of the rewrites that have taken place and many different design changes on and off time and time again. Now, with that being said, of course, what's really intriguing all has to do with Kathleen Kennedy and her stance on the actual project. Given that The Mandalorian Season 3 is now in development and moving along smoothly with the release of 2022, Disney and Lucasfilm are fully focused on their new projects for the Star Wars franchise as a whole moving ahead. It's best described, however, that behind the scenes, Lucasfilm's Kathleen Kennedy is having a hard time with Star Wars: The Acolyte and wants to quit from the project in its entirety, given of how many creative differences her and Leslye Headland are falling into. Not a big surprise, by the way. Now, Kennedy is best described to be very stressed and worked up over the process of the project, to the point where she is on the verge of quitting the project and has even discussed this with Disney CEO Bob Chapek as well. Kennedy is also said to have tons of problems with Leslye Headland's creative choices for the new series and wants her to make some more design changes to the characters that take place at the very end of the High Republic era to fall more in line with her Phase 1 of that timeline with the books and the comics that are planned as we speak. Initially, of course, and also it's described that Kennedy wants to leave from this project due to it being a very stressful job at the moment because of what Leslye Headland is strictly wanting to do with the overall new show for Disney+. Now, in case you guys have been out of the loop, it's a very important thing to know that this show is going to be labeled as a mystery thriller that has to do with emerging dark side powers at the very end of the High Republic era. And if you guys have researched, the Star Wars lore, the very end of the High Republic takes place roughly 50 years before Episode 1. So that's a very interesting phase there. And there's been a lot of talk before in the past that Leslye has been trying to incorporate this with the prequel trilogy movies and how it's going to retcon the prequels in specific ways. Obviously, I think that's going to be a disaster, to tell you guys the truth. This legitimately is going to be a Batwoman scenario, because not only do they have Brie Larson said to be attached to the show, they also have Ruby Rose attached to this new Star Wars TV series. And Ruby Rose was Batwoman last, before they did the recast. So, the thing about all of this, when we look at everything related to Kathleen Kennedy on the verge of quitting from this project, honestly, I wouldn't mind it. I wouldn't mind it at all. But then that gives Leslye full creative control from start to finish of exactly how she wants to treat the series by contract. I think that at the very minimum here, what Kathleen Kennedy is trying to do is that she's trying to keep Leslye in line with the High Republic material that we saw a couple of weeks ago, which, by the way, a lot of fans are just not having it. A lot of fans are just not enjoying that. Some of you out there may like it, and that's fine. Everybody has their own opinion. That's just a part of being human and all. But a lot of Star Wars fans out there don't accept the High Republic era, and that's what Kathleen Kennedy wants from Leslye Headland. She wants it more in line with how the earlier times of the High Republic are, rather than the later times. So, I think it's going to be a big mess, to tell you guys the truth. I don't believe that they're going to get that 2022 release. I think that it's going to get delayed until 23, either in May or December of that year, or whatever have you. I don't think it's coming out next year. There's no way. With all these setbacks, all these rewrites, I just can't see that happening. But if they do rush through it, and if they do, step on it, I think that they could make a 22 release. It's going to be sloppy, though, to say the least. So, like I said before in the past, guys, drop a comment below. Let me know about all of this in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, do make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel. I thank you all so very much for the kind support, and I'll catch you guys next time.